Welcome to another episode of Dialogue Corner. Today I'm joined by Blessing. We'll be looking at the challenges facing South African citizens in general. So the point of today's shoot, we just want to highlight all of them and look at the root and possibly look at the possible solutions. However, we'll allow Blessing a chance to introduce himself, maybe start getting into it. But nice connect sakala. Yeah. As introduce a Blessing, introduce man.
Igama lami Blessing Ntuli. That is all I can say. I'm interested in issues or activities that involve thinking around issues of national interest, ranging from social, economic, environmental, and sometimes governance-related issues. Yes.
Okay. So which ones have you noticed as the most critical? Let's say just mention 5.
Well, it will be difficult to arrange them according to their importance. But I think all problems that we have in the society, and I stand to be corrected, this is just a mere opinion that
True.
I hope to base it on an in-depth research when the time is right. I think all issues of the society stem from one place, which is the family structure, where people come from, where they are brought up, how they've been socialized. All of them, whether you're talking about leadership, economics, politics, or any issue that you can think of in the society. Yeah.
So fixing the family structure will somehow fix the challenges that we have in society.
Exactly. Who you are, your identity, your primary identity is shaped by who you come from, the values that you inherited from, or that you imparted into you when you were growing up, your values, your mindsets, your perceptions, the way you view the world, the lenses that you are wearing as you view the world, they all come from your background, from your family.
Can you make an example to understand
corruption? The way you are brought up in your family. I usually make a mistake. I usually make an example about how I think people become corrupt. I argue that corruption is not caused by poverty, even though some people argue that it is caused by poverty. There are many people many people who are corrupt, and I also appreciate the fact that poverty is very diverse. There is absolute poverty, there is relative poverty, and other forms of poverty. But I argue that corruption is not caused by poverty, because there is a vast majority of people who are poor but who are not corrupt. But it is caused by the type of values a person inherited when they were growing up. Like if I come from a family where we do not pay taxes, in a family where we do not pay electricity bills, where we have found a way of bypassing all those types of bills. When I get to university, it will be easy to pay a bribe to be enrolled. As I graduate and look for employment, it will be easy to do anything that I'll be demanded to do in order to get a job, whether it is selling sex, whether it is paying a bribe. And as I get into work, it will be easy to do anything that will be demanded, even if it is immoral or even if it means I should compromise my values. I will easily do that to get promoted, or even killing another person to get a promotion. As I get promoted and I'm in charge of everything, it would be easy to corrupt the whole system, because this thing of corruption has been instilled from me, and this is the problem with immorality. The time when you do anything wrong, it becomes easier to do another thing wrong of a bigger nature, of course, because the more you do wrong things is the weaker you become. and it is the familiar it becomes for you to involve yourself in any moral things. So I think if we can fix the family structure, now this brings us back to how we form relationships in the society. So it's a whole complicated, it is a multifaceted issue that I cannot just oversimplify. Yeah.
So let's just try and scale it. So I don't want to personalize it, but try and create the perfect environment. Let's say we want to make sure that we have this one kid who can somehow improve society. What kind of environment would you like us to create for him or her?
Okay. For me, this is an opinion and I stand to be corrected.
True.
And I love to be corrected or even challenged.
That's the only way to learn.
I know that currently in the society, we are very opinionated and there is a lot happening in the public discourse. But I'm one person who strongly believes in marriage, and I'm unashamed of that. Do you know why?
Arranged or just marriage?
Just marriage.
Okay.
Do you know why I believe in it? It is simply because we have attended the worst types of marriage, we've experienced a lot of bad things about marriage. We've attended funerals where there's a coffin for a husband and a coffin, a wife and a children. There is how terrible some marriages can be. It is one of those worst things that you have in the society, like many other institutions. But there is no single invention, in my opinion, that has been invented to replace marriage or at least be an alternative to marriage. There is not a single one. So I believe that marriage is the safest place or environment that you can create for yourself, for a wife, and for the kids to thrive. Even, can I just step you? Even like economically, there is a research that was done, I'm not sure if it is Forbes magazine or what, that suggests that in the list of the richest people in the world, the billionaires in dollars, most of them are married. So it tells you that this is a good environment for anyone to thrive because it creates a support structure and a support system for both you as a man, a wife, and the kids. Also to get a sense of belonging, to have a community of people you can rely on.
Okay, so what makes a successful marriage? Would it be the submission and the leadership or the vision that is created within the structure? Or what makes it successful? What would make one a successful marriage?
In my opinion, a successful marriage is not the one that has existed for a number of years. Actually, in my opinion, I can argue that even if we start a marriage and we end up divorcing 25 years later, it can still be successful. You can still view that divorce as success. There are marriages like that did not last that long. So for me, it is not about the longevity, but it is about the impact and the development of the society. So what makes the marriage successful for me, it is firstly to look at the primary purpose of marriage and who invented it, not turning a blind eye on the spiritual aspect of it. As we have seen, when people tie knots in marriage, they make vows, and those vows include God. So making God to be the center of it, for me, is very important. Now, again, the concept of God is very diverse, but if God is the center, I think it is much better because now you get to have a point of reference for defining what a good marriage looks like in your marriage. As for me, as a Christian, I think making God the center of the marriage is very important because I will have a set of values that will create order. Like in Christianity, patriarch is not a problem. Of course, not a toxic one. Patriarch is not a problem. It simply means there is a hierarchy in the family, and it has nothing to do with superiority or importance. It has everything to do with creating order and who fronts at what time. For instance, if a man is the head of the family, a man can provide, a man can protect, a man can decide the direction and the vision of the family. A wife can give a primary self-care. A wife can take care of kids. A wife, if she's equipped or adept in managing finances, can take care of finances. A wife can do anything as according to their potential. If she can breastfeed, she can breastfeed because she's the one who has boobs. The man does not have boobs. If a man can clean, that type of an arrangement where there will be order. Okay, let me now state one of my controversial opinions. I do not subscribe to the idea of feminism. I do not subscribe to the idea of equality.
Doesn't work.
It doesn't work. I've never seen it work anywhere. And I believe that as a black man or as an African, it does not solve any of our issues.
Yeah. So from the things you've mentioned structure mostly, and defining actual roles, what people will be doing in that marriage or in that structure. So would you not say, from the things that you've mentioned now, which is equality, which was presented by people who generally do not like us, of somehow confusing roles in the workplace, and then we also got confused and took the same roles and we took them to our households?
Yes.
Would you not say that is one of the challenges that we have?
It is one of the challenges that we have, of course, because now if you shift the attention of the society from what matters into issues that are non-existent, you are deviating us like further from the issues that matter, the issues that we should be addressing, like the quality of education, like the condition of our economic conditions. Now you are moving the attention away from the core issues that we have, like substance abuse, like sexual immorality. I mean, we shouldn't shy away from the fact that in our society we have a problem of sexual immorality that manifests itself as teenage pregnancy, as high percentages of sexually transmitted diseases, and all sorts of problems that are related to sexual immorality, including rape.
Okay. So I want to mention these outside factors, which are outside from the household. You've mentioned tax. You've mentioned the workplace, the equality, because I think that is where we got the idea of the equality, and we got the ideas all of feminism. So this child, we've created this environment for this child, a happy home with a structure. He or she understands that Ubaba serves this role of protecting this house and provides. And then Umama is the one who makes sure that we are all well taken care of.
Yes.
And then I go to the outside world, which is, I think it gets more hectic when you get to university, and then you start to experience the real world in terms of what people are and what people perceive the world to be.
Yes.
So, and then the first one that I'll experience, let me say, which is tax. And then I see it as something that is some sort of a scam, because the collection of tax would be to somehow serve the greater people of the nation, in a way. And then if I see it as a scam and then I come back home and then I somehow enforce my influence, or not influence, I want to play a role as well in this family. That I've seen this thing as a hindering factor in this household in terms of our finances. Is it wrong for me to somehow try and make that contribution to say, let's move away from paying tax?
It is difficult to tell whether it is right or wrong unless we have a reliable point of reference for defining what is right and wrong.
Okay.
But as I mentioned, if a family is supposed to be a support structure, I think it should as well be a safe place or a safe environment to learn and grow. It should be kind of an educational space as well. So bringing up issues and debating about them and proposing solutions is okay with me, as long as it is in line with the law. And I'm happy because we do have a way of making such suggestions to a point where you reach a level of policy formations and implementations. Yeah, we live in a democratic society, even though others may argue that it is not democratic, but as a general public, we believe that we live in a democratic society. Like there are different platforms of raising that issues, raising those issues. Like right now, we are having this conversation, and there's a free speech. You're allowed to say anything. So, yeah, I think it's okay to do that. But I have a problem with with reading a book that will tell you about tax avoidance. I'm not sure if it is appropriate to mention other people's names here.
We can mention that.
Like going and read Robert Kiyosaki's book on Rich Dad Poor Dad, and try to avoid taxes. I don't support that.
No, I'm bringing this purposely because I think most of the so-called revolutionaries, it's people who get to be exposed to certain information from the outside world. So going back to what I was asking, what would make a good marriage? Is it the environment? And then if you've created that environment, the person that you produce from that environment, what they learn outside, and then they try to bring it into this structure, are they wrong to try and bring it home? Because almost, I think I don't think there's a government that we can say, or all over the world, where they can say they are well satisfied with the way governments are run or they are governed in a way. So if, as a child, you see this wrongdoing, and then you try and saying to your family, the household, the structure that you are in, is it wrong to try and emphasize or trying to move your family from that? Because I think it should be also about the progression and creating a better vision for this person.
Okay.
Unless I'm diverting.
No, I don't think you're diverting. I just need some clarity.
Okay.
Are you removing the children, like, literally from one geographic space that you think is not good for them, or like you mean psychological?
Psychological.
I think that's okay.
You think
because
so?
By so doing, we are developing a kind of a leader who can be...
This is the word I was looking for, sorry.
Yes.
Conforming.
Or you don't want to conform
yes.
into the standards.
Are we supposed to say we've brought up, so the children that we've brought up, they are so good that they are conforming to whatever norms and values that have been created by someone else, or we're saying we want you because you are from the structure, to not abide or just follow any norms that have been created. You need to be a unique person. Hence, I was asking what would make a successful marriage.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sorry.
Well, I think that makes perfect sense. On the other hand, I think we should also be careful about not seeking to be unique for the sake of it. Sometimes you can be unique and useless.
True.
Yes. So you need to. I think in a family, it is where you should be brought up to be a better version of yourself, not to be a duplicate of someone else.
True.
Yes, not to be a duplicate of your parents. So if having a unique mentality or different opinions from the conventional or like the popular ideas, if you are brought up to be like that, I think it can be advantageous in many ways. You can be innovative, you can be a better leader, you can be a better leader in a sense that you'll be able to see a place from a distance and decide that me and those who subscribe to the same ideas that I hold. Like, for instance, if you subscribe to the idea of polygamy, if you are brought up to be a good leader, you can take that idea, no matter how criticized it is in the society, you can have a vision that I have a whole different version of polygamy that I want to implement. Maybe you may have even valid reasons. Like, I mean, males die in car accidents because of drink and drive. Males are the most jailed ones because it is only roughly 37% of males who are raised by present fathers in the society. I mean physically present. I'm not sure how emotionally present those fathers are. and they are 14 times more likely to land in prison than those who are brought. Those who are not brought their fathers are 14 times more likely to land in prison. Like, others are switching teams. The last time we checked, they were playing for us. The following day,
switching teams,
like playing for another, being part of another gender.
Oh, okay.
Yes, others are doing risky jobs, and
Okay.
others they are doing risky jobs. So to come up with solutions for Africa's problems, you may as well just say, well, I think polygamy is one of the methods that you can use, regardless of how criticized it is in the society. So if you have brought up to be that kind of a person who can think independently, who can think outside the box without any fear of being judged or criticized, you can make a better leader, because you will see a place from a distance and say, me and those who subscribe to my ideas, I want us to go to that direction.
Okay.
You know.
With the short time that we have, so you said that the biggest challenge that we have is we don't have family structures that are proper. So can you bring about, in trying to create these family structures that are better in a society, what do we need? What would you say that we need to have these family structures that are better?
Firstly, I will tell you how I think I can do it.
Okay, better.
I will not suggest how others can do it.
Okay.
For me, I believe that there is a higher power that governs us, that governs how the world, that should govern how the world runs. And I'm fully persuaded that if I can follow that route, my life will be proper.
Okay.
It is just my conviction. I'm not saying I've reached that stage where I'm ready to do that. I'm just saying, this is how I think I can achieve that. Firstly, it is to make God the center of my life. I have a number of reasons for that, but because of time, I will not explain them.
Okay.
In whatever that we do as a society, I like what Donald Trump is doing in America, even though I do not agree with everything he's doing. I think we need to acknowledge as the society that in any form of any development, in any form of modernization, civilization, or whatever, we should not ever try to eliminate God from that. Because one of the problems we have in the society, Bodhi, it is the fact that after acquiring all the skills that you can acquire, after acquiring all the information that we acquire, we do not have values. You see governments not functioning or being dysfunctional, and you think it is simply because there are no skills. It is not always about the skills. The type of a human who is occupying a position also matters. Their values also matter. So I think for me it would be to make God the center, to fix my life, like for self-development purposes, long before I invite someone else to enter into a relationship with me. Long before I invite someone else to build a family with me, I think God should be the center. Then the rest will follow.
Would it be wrong to not add anyone in this picture and just have people who, because I think to add someone and then you're mentioning family, it means that they'll be giving you babies, right? Would it be a wrong structure from what you want, from what you want, to have people who have these people who just give them babies and then they create a family with these kids and not include them or bring them closer? Is in a form of a marriage?
Or you mean to make babies and neglect their mothers?
Not entirely neglect, but not get them into that structure of a marriage.
You know why I'm using the word neglect? Because there is no better way of putting it. I don't believe I can have a baby mama and marry someone else, like fully intentionally. Because that means this baby mama is not good enough to stay with me. Then why would I be convinced that this baby mama is good enough, like...
to have your child.
You see?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense to me. But I mean, people have different reasons. I'm just saying how I view it. I don't think that's a good idea. And I believe that every child deserves to have their mother and father present with them.
Okay.
Also, can I add something?
Yes, may.
Because I don't want like to appear as someone perfect. I also understand that there are people who could not get an opportunity to be brought up by their two parents. I'm one of them. But it is not just about being parent, also the quality of parenting. You can raise a child as a single parent and give them the best quality of parenting, a responsible type of parenting. So that's possible. But I don't think it should be something that we do fully intentional. Yeah.
True.
For instance, I usually make an example about my mother, that my mother was the best woman I've ever met. Even my sisters are good people. They take care of me. They love me. But I cannot compare them with my mother. We spent a very little time with her, but she gave me enough love for a lifetime. So it's the quality of parenting. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Blessing. I don't think that we're done. I think we still need to continue to discussing more challenges that we are facing. But this one, I think it's well noted, creating a family structure. I think if we could all start there, but be intentional. That's what I heard mostly. Be intentional about the people that we bring closer and to achieving that dream. I think your last words, and then we can close.
Okay. I didn't know that our conversation will take this direction, but let me land on this point, since we're talking quite sharply about family structure. I think at the center of the family is reproduction. And for human reproduction, you need sex. I'm not saying like I'm trying to be a perfectionist, but I think as young people we need to begin from now going forward to also talk about this thing of sex, like quite honestly and quite frankly. Based on what I know, sex is primarily for reproduction.
And pleasure.
Yes, not pleasure is a secondary issue. So I feel like as young people now we need to stand up and say, in order to fix our society, we need to talk about this issue of sex. Like there's nothing wrong with sex. There's nothing wrong with sex. Like a fireplace in a room. When fire is made in a fireplace, it's cool, it warms everyone up and it is pleasurable. But once it falls onto the carpet, it burns everything. I feel like we need to change our idea or our perception towards sex. Out of all things, we cannot be using sex to be the center of pleasure. As a sane society, remember, we're human beings here. We behave based on decisions and rationality. We do not act on impulse like animals. We need to start being human, not as animals. We also have a problem of rape that is centered around sex. And if you take your time to observe what could be the causes of rape, it is not that women are wearing revealing clothes. Kids and elderly people don't wear revealing clothes. It is the perception of us as men towards women, seeing them as primary objects of sex. I think we need to talk about that. That's all I can say.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we'll stop there for today. Thank you very much for viewing in.